Masako Nozawa has been the voice of Goku ever since the Dragon Ball anime first began airing in Japan in 1986. Since then, Goku has gone on to become one of the most popular characters not just in anime, but to have ever come out of Japan. As a result, Nozawa has had many very memorable experiences. And today I want to share one of those with you. But I do just want to let you know that this is a real world story that involves death and a terminal illness. So if you don't want to listen to that right now, that's totally fine. Maybe listen to this another time or just skip this one altogether. However, I also want to let you know that this is actually a very positive story, and it's one that highlights the true power of not just Dragon Ball, but anime in general. Let's get into it. This is a story that Nozawa told in a joint interview with Tanaka Mayumi, the voice of Krillin. The interviewer was actually Yamadera Koichi, who is the voice of Beerus. Unfortunately, we don't know exactly when this story takes place. However, it seems that it begins sometime in February during the original broadcast of the Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z animes. Even though Nozawa doesn't provide a specific year, as far as I've been able to figure out given the information that she does provide, it seems that this took place sometime between 1987 and 1995. It was in February of one of these years when Nozawa got a letter. Now, of course, this is when the anime was still airing, the movies were coming out, the manga was still being published, and Dragon Ball was in its first peak of popularity. So I'm sure that Nozawa was getting tons and tons of letters from fans of Dragon Ball all across Japan. However, the one that she read this day was very different from the typical fan letter. That's because the letter wasn't from a Dragon Ball fan. It was from the father of a terminally ill child who also happened to be a Dragon Ball fan. In the letter, the father explained that his son had been told by doctors that he wouldn't live past the end of the month. He also explained that his son loved Dragon Ball, and so he asked Nozawa if she could send him an autograph. After reading this, it seems that Nozawa was moved because she decided to go above and beyond. She didn't simply send the boy an autograph. She decided to record a personalized message for the boy in Goku's voice. She got an audio engineer to help her, perhaps staff from Toei, and she recorded the message. Nozawa explained that in the message she said, "Os ora Goku," Goku's iconic line. The English equivalent of this is, of course, "Hey, it's me, Goku." She then mentioned the boy's name, and then she told the boy, "I'll see you in the movie theater. It's a promise. You absolutely have to come."
で、オスオラゴクっつって言ってその子の名前呼んで、絶対に来いよ。オラが劇場で待ってっからな。約束だぞっつって言って。
The reason why Nozawa mentioned the movie theater thing in her message to the boy is that there was a new Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z movie coming out that summer. Unfortunately, Nozawa doesn't provide any more details than that, so we can't figure out what movie this was. It could have been one of the original Dragon Ball ones or one of the Dragon Ball Z ones. However, I did check the Japanese release dates for all of the Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z movies, and what I found was that none of them came out in August. But a lot of them did come out in July, so it seems likely that what Nozawa meant to say was actually July rather than August. But whatever the case, that's not really all that important. The main point here is that Nozawa was using this movie as a way to give this child some hope and something to look forward to. Several months passed, the movie was released, and sometime after that, Nozawa got another letter from the father. In the letter, the father explained that unfortunately the boy had passed away. However, the father also thanked her profusely, and he said that a miracle had happened. The boy had lived to see the movie. So unfortunately, the boy was in such bad condition that normally he couldn't even sit up. So they had taken the boy's bed to the movie theater so that he could watch the Dragon Ball movie lying down. However, once in the theater, the boy insisted that he wanted to sit up in a chair to watch the movie. So the father and perhaps other family members brought the boy a chair, and he sat down in the chair and watched the entire movie. And then the next day, the boy passed away. Along with the father's letter, though, Nozawa got another letter. This one was from the boy's doctor. The boy's doctor explained that as doctors, they study and they study and they try to learn as much as possible in order to help their patients, in order to make it so that they can live even for just a little bit longer. They do their absolute best. But in a case like this, he was unable to do anything. But seeing what happened with the boy made the doctor understand the power of anime.
お医者さんのお手紙が一緒に添えてあったんですよ。そしたら僕たちは勉強して、それで人の命を少しでも長らえよとか生きさせようってしてやってお勉強してやってるんだけど、それもできなくて、アニメの力って何なんでしょう。僕今知らされました。
お医者さんが、お医者さんだけじゃなくて、
そう、びっくりしました。もういや、もうすごいなこのアニメの力ってって、その時すっごく感じたんですよね。
Now here's the thing, we can't say what would have happened if Nozawa wouldn't have sent that audio recording to the boy. There's no way to know that, and that doesn't really matter either. The point of this story isn't to brag about what she did or anything like that. She just wants to highlight the power of anime. She says that. She doesn't say Dragon Ball, she says anime. And it's so true. Anime and the characters that we love, they have the power to inspire us to do things that we would normally never do. They motivate us to challenge ourselves, and they positively affect our lives. I'm sure that the majority of you who are watching this video have a story to tell about how anime has positively impacted your life. For me, it really helped me deal with my vision loss. In case you're not aware, I'm legally blind, and shortly after high school, I lost most of my eyesight. I'm still legally blind to this day, and I basically have no central vision, I just have peripheral vision. Up until this happened to me, I watched subtitled anime. I knew some Japanese, but not enough to enjoy it without subtitles. And then suddenly, I was unable to read subtitles. So my passion for anime ended up being one of the factors that really motivated me to study Japanese harder and become able to actually speak it and understand it. I actually used a lot of anime to study Japanese, and I learned so many words from the series that I was watching at the time. So for me, anime absolutely had a positive impact on my life. And even though I talk a lot about Dragon Ball here, it doesn't have to be Dragon Ball. It could be One Piece, it could be Naruto, it could be Hajime no Ippo, whatever it is. All these stories are filled with incredible characters and incredible moments that motivate us to be better people. And again, if anime has had a positive impact on your life, I want to hear that story. Drop me a comment. I'd be so happy to read those stories, so share them with me. And I know this video was quite a bit different from my typical ones, but I thought this story was really worth sharing, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of you haven't heard it before, so I decided to try something a little bit different. Let me know if you found it interesting, but I will be back with more videos, and the next one is going to be something much more like my usual stuff. Check out the video on screen. This one's about that time that Toriyama saved somebody's job with a single line. See you in the next one, guys.